recording and turn it over to Tom.
Good morning. Good morning and welcome. Thank you for doing whatever it took for you to get here this morning. This is kind of a legendary event for Not Church in that we're completing two really big things today. On one hand, we're celebrating completing the first 10 years of Not Church being in existence, which is amazing to think about something that's volunteer driven, that has been around for 10 years, contributing to so many people. And we're also celebrating the completion of Erin's role, or the role she has been playing in Not Church. And she has been one of the mainstays and shouldered so much of the responsibility and accountability for Not Church being around. So it's a big, big Sunday. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I want to say that with completion, there's a tremendous opportunity. Completion is when you finish something consciously. That's all it means. So, if we take a moment to complete both the 10 years of Not Church, whatever that experience has been for you, and the celebration and completion of Erin's participation in Not Church, it provides something for us that could be actually rather extraordinary. So if we look at, what worked about Not Church over 10 years, what worked with Erin's participation, what didn't work, if anything didn't work, just to bring all of this into our consciousness and make it vital and alive for ourselves. Also, does anyone need to be acknowledged from your standpoint? Do you need to acknowledge anyone for whatever has happened over these years with both the church and with Erin? Does anything need to be said? Are there any communications that have been undelivered that you'd like to deliver them? Because the last piece of what we're doing this morning is we're opening it up for discussion and comment. So you're going to have ample time to say whatever you need to say. And I encourage you to say something if that's there for you, or to acknowledge someone. In other words, complete this for yourself, because what happens with completion is that an opening pops up around us. It's like, you're standing in line for a big concert and this huge crowd is at the door. And all of a sudden the crowd pushes back 25 feet from you and you have this opening, in this busy life of circumstances, and it's peaceful and quiet and grounded. And you can step into that opening and generate or create something for the future of yourself. And then you get one other little gift with completion, which is a little puff of energy, a little bit of energy to help you step into that clearing and create what's next. So this morning is a celebration of 10 years of Not Church and Erin's participation in Not Church. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And I'm going to pass it on now to Ron.
Right, I think I should be unmuted now. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for including me today. It's a real honor. This is a sad day for me, a very sad day. 10 years ago, when Not Church started, I could never have imagined that we would be around in 10 years. And that is entirely due to Erin. I'm not exaggerating when I say that, entirely due. So for me to understand that she's come to the end of a stewardship of this is terribly, terribly sad. I think it was about 9 years ago we had started in our church already, and Erin had a little ceremony up in the waspy areas of Southern California. I think it was either Newport Beach or Laguna Beach, where her coronation was. And a few of us went up. There was like a caravan going up. A few of us went up there to see the coronation. It was very moving and very lovely. As I said, for me, this is a really sad occasion. I could not even imagine our church without Erin. She has been a rock, an absolute rock. I remember when the Time magazine people came down to do a little interview about North Church. She is exceptional. I don't know if all of you realize how lucky we are to have her in this community. She has devoted herself completely to making this work. You know, when Not Church started, Doug Rye's mom was down here just over 10 years ago and said how much he missed church and she'd like to go to church. And Doug and Anna convinced Erin that as the only ordained minister around, maybe she could take care of this. And she did. We did it mainly to hoodwink Doug's mom. And it grew from there. Erin and I used to make jokes and talk about, why don't we franchise this? Let's get some big money into this so we can divide it up and really enjoy ourselves. Alas and alack, it never happened. We never got the franchise rights together and never did it. I still regret that. What I'd like to do this morning is to talk to you a little bit about meditation. For 10 years now, we have started out Not Church with a small meditation. Meditation is designed not to make us better people, not to change the world, but to allow us to see the reality, the spiritual reality that is within us. And we do that by closing our eyes, concentrating on the eye center, and attempting to go into ourselves. This body that we all have has 9 portals that allow us to communicate with the world, to sense the world. Our eyes, our nose, our ears, our mouth, and the lower apertures. It has one portal that allows us to experience the inner world, and that is the eye center. So if we sit comfortably, try and get comfortable, get to a place where your body can relax and you can concentrate, close your eyes and try and bring your attention from your body to the eye center. Try and raise your consciousness to that eye center and repeat a little prayer, a mantra, if that is where you're at, and use that to still your active thinking mind. You can also use your breathing, which is a technique that many yogis use. So, if we close our eyes, concentrate on the eye center, and let's meditate for a few minutes. Thank you very much.
Good morning. When Anna asked if I would share on today's Not Church theme, Celebrate Endings, and goodbye to the historic year of 2020, my first thought was, thank goodness this year is ending. Maybe now we can embrace the possibility of a new normal without the COVID pandemic, contested elections, protests, and poison prejudice. So rather than an endless review filled with numbers of votes and numbers of COVID cases, here's another thought to ponder. With every ending, there was a beginning. 10 years ago, Not Church began. And today we celebrate that, as well as Erin for her fabulous contribution. Some goodbyes are easier than others, but this one is epic. I said goodbye to my 70s and turned 80s, only just beginning. 10 years ends, a next decade begins, filled with new challenges and hope. I believe the next 10 years of Not Church has just great possibility. Every year, every day, every idea, every event has a beginning. We happily celebrate anniversaries, birthdays, holidays, babies' births, and new jobs, new relationships, new houses, winning new championships, and of course, a new year. Sometimes endings are harder to celebrate. The end of a relationship, a divorce, loss of a job, loss of a loved one. However, there's always a space between the beginning and the ending that we don't often celebrate. The middle. Maybe because the middle can sometimes be filled with muck and struggle, like 2020. The middle is where we spend most of our time. And I like to see the middle as a miracle. Miracles where lessons are learned, personal growth happens, and patience, perseverance, and new perspectives lead us to profound awakenings. In 2020, we discovered Zoom. Families that hadn't gathered due to distance found time for Zoom calls. Even Not Church on Zoom forced us to up our technology skills. Many people worked from home. Many families cooked more. and also had to navigate the online schooling. For some of us, uncertainty, anxiety, and fear caught us in a roller coaster ride. Hours felt like days, days like weeks, and weeks turned into months with the ups and downs of the COVID-19 spread, currently reaching new highs, yet a promise of an ending with vaccines. Remember way back when there was an endless campaign? There were more than 20 Democratic candidates for president. Debates had beginnings and endings. We voted in an election that seems like it's never ending. Here's a quote from a friend that kind of sums up the year. Well, this year didn't turn out to be the fabulous year we envisioned, but we made the most of what we did have. The lessons have been invaluable, and the shifts in each of us necessary to move us into the future. We keep trying to focus on the positives, lots of family time, a slower pace of life, time for movies, games, and projects, cooking and baking together. Not all is bad in all of this. Great idea. Now we look forward to beginning anew and taking what's good into the new year and letting go of what needs to be left behind. To do this, I'd like to share something called a year in review. I did this with the monks at Plum Village in Thailand. I invite you to try this before this year ends. You need only 3 pieces of paper. The first piece is for beginnings, writing intentions, aspirations, ideas, or projects for the coming year. When finished, keep it somewhere and read it at the end of next year. The second one for the middle, or the miracles in life. Make a list of gratitudes, appreciations, lessons, teachings, people, places, events, even ahas. It will amaze you how long and easily that list grows. The third piece of paper is for endings and goodbyes, a listing of things to let go, things that no longer serve you and that you're willing to release. That piece should be burned by the year's end. This can be done as a family project, sharing gratitudes with each other if you like, and then individually letting go of your crumpled third piece of paper to release it into a fireplace or burn it outdoors in a large pot. The fire is symbolic of an ending, which was traditionally done after a meditation at the stroke of midnight on December 31st to say goodbye to the old year and welcome the new. As we celebrate 2020 ending, we anticipate 2021 and all the golden moments that lie in the middle, reminding me of some words from the song, Circle of Life. There's more to be seen than can ever be seen, more to do than can ever be done. There's far too much to take in here, more to find than can ever be found in the circle of life. May each of you continue to celebrate beginnings, middles, and endings. Happy New Year. And now next, Nadine.
Thank you, Rose. And thank you, Tom. And thank you, Ron. And thank you, Erin, for all the inspiration and support and love and welcoming and humor and gardening tips and everything that you have brought to Not Church in the last 9 years. So John Irving in The World According to Garp said, You only grow by coming to the end of something and by beginning something else. So I don't have the gift of elocution that Rose and Tom and Ron have. So I have chosen to share with you a couple writings from some people who were really, really good at that this morning. So first, we've got a lot to be thankful for. And I hope that the passing of this dreadful, tragic year be the beginning of something wonderful and new for each of us, individually and collectively, as we stand on this threshold of newness, celebrating what we've learned and what we, dare I say, hope for. Don't anybody hit me. We have this little joke in Happiness Study Group about the word hope, because it is kind of a double-edged sword in Buddhism, where anytime you use the word hope, it implies dissatisfaction with what is, which is not such a positive way to approach things. So anyway, I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to read to you first from Sonnets to Orpheus, Part 2 by Rainier Marie Rilke. Want the change. Be inspired by the flame, where everything shines as it disappears. The artist, when sketching, loves nothing so much as the curve of the body as it turns away. What locks itself in sameness has congealed. Is it safer to be gray and numb? What turns hard becomes rigid and is easily shattered. Pour yourself like a fountain. Flow into the knowledge that what you are seeking finishes often at the start and with ending begins. Every happiness is the child of a separation it did not think it could survive. And Daphne, becoming a laurel, dares you to become the wind. And the next one is from Pablo Neruda, Ode to Thanks. Thanks to the word that says thanks. Thanks to thanks. Word that melts iron and snow. The world is a threatening place until thanks makes the rounds from one pair of lips to another. Soft as a bright feather and sweet as a petal of sugar, filling the mouth with its sound, or else a mumbled whisper. Life becomes human again. It's no longer an open window. A bit of brightness strikes into the forest, and we can sing again beneath the leaves. Thanks. You're the medicine we take to save us from the bite of scorn. Your light brightens the altar of harshness. Or maybe a tapestry known to far distant peoples. Travelers fan out into the wilds, and in the jungle of strangers, merci rings out, while the hustling train changes countries, sweeping away borders. Then spasibo, clinging to pointy volcanoes, to fire and freezing cold. Oops, hold on. Sorry. Or danke. Yes, and gracias. And the world turns into a table. A single word has wiped it clean. Plates and glasses gleam. Silverware tinkles, and the tablecloth is broad as a plain. Thank you, thanks, for going out and returning, for rising up and settling down. We know, thanks, that you don't fill every space. You're only a word, but where your little petal appears, the daggers of pride take cover, and there's a penny worth of smiles. And lastly, from Laura Fanucci's When This Is Over. When this ends, may we find that we have become more like the people we wanted to be, We were called to be. We hope to be. And may we stay that way. Better for each other because of the worst. Better. Just a little bit better. Let's go out and be just a little bit better, as Kathy Duran's dad always used to say, and we heard so many times over the years at Not Church. Thank you all in gratitude for everything you all have done to participate, to contribute, to make Not Church what it has been over these years. We celebrate you all. Thank you. And I think I'm turning this over to Erin.
Thank you, Nadine. Thank you, Ron and Tom and Rose. And good morning to all the rest of you. And just to clarify, the coronation of which Ron spoke is actually an ordination. But over the years, we began to affectionately refer to it as my coronation. That was Ron's doing. So thank you, Ron, for reminding me of that day. And it was a fun day with a caravan and the Not Church folks. That was before Not Church actually existed as a term, but the folks that became Not Church maybe scared the living bejesus out of the church folks, but it was a scared with enthusiasm and optimism. And so that actually continues to bear fruit in those church people who were amazed and in awe about this group of folks that represented what we now call Not Church. So thank you all. Our theme this morning is endings. And over these last years, we've had many themes. And we haven't tiptoed around them all. Sometimes one of our theme was hate. We looked at death. We looked at prejudice. We've looked at racism. In addition, we've looked at love and we've looked at forgiveness. And we've tried to have a cross section of life and to really not shy away from digging in. One of the things that many of us often said in those first years was, gosh, it's not like we planned any of this. So I would just ask people to contribute. And I was, if I confess it, kind of last minute sometimes. So it was maybe a few days before that I said, hey, do you want to contribute to Not Church? And this is the theme. But what would inevitably happen is the sharing that would happen when we gathered together. It seemed as though we had all coordinated our thoughts on whatever that theme was, but that was just the magic of the soup that was created in the moment. And so I feel so thankful for that. I feel like it's been an honor to have been a part of that. So today our theme is endings. And usually when I think of endings, I don't really like endings actually. Like if I just think of it, endings to me seem sad. I probably try to resist them a lot of times. They're not something I usually look forward to or welcome. They're more something to be endured than celebrated. And then came 2020. And we have this whole new idea of what celebrating an ending might be, I think. It sometimes feels like the world itself is like groaning under the weight of 2020 and like holding its breath in the anticipation of finally being rid of this year. If you look at Facebook memes, I mean, there's some really funny ones about, just getting rid of 2020, but also the serious threats we've had to people's health, people's livelihood, the isolation that many have felt, because of needing to stay away. I know a number of people who have died, not to COVID directly, but indirect COVID is what I call it. The isolation has gotten the better of them, and it has brought them down. And so it almost feels like there's this collective universe holding its breath, looking forward to breathing a sigh of relief when this craziness passes. It feels to me often like a longing to go back to normal. Like, when can we just go back to normal? Go back to the way things were. Go back to what feels safe. Go back to what feels comfortable. I feel it in myself. I hear it when I talk to my mom every evening on the phone, what I started in March. If I can't go see her that often, I'm going to talk to her every day. This sense of, I just want this to be over so that we can go back to normal. And in fact, in March, when we very first gathered online using Zoom, we talked about this very thing. Oh, we just can't wait to go back to normal in March. And we were only, 2 weeks into the pandemic at that point, and now we're 9 months in. It made me think, and I never quote the Bible, but hey, it's the last not church that I'm in this role. I might as well, right? No, but there's a phrase in the Christian scriptures that says that the entire creation is in labor pains, waiting for that which is to become. And it just feels to me a little bit like this time that we're in right now. So I feel like it can be so easy to want to toss out 2020 like a hot potato and say, no give backs. But I've been wondering about that lately as well. And many of you know that I did my seminary training at Princeton Seminary in Princeton, New Jersey. And moving to New Jersey from California was definitely a culture shock, maybe even more than California to Baja. New Jersey, I was excited, but I wasn't prepared for living in New Jersey as a Californian. From jug handle left turns, you can't make a left turn in New Jersey. You have to turn right to turn left. It's crazy. It was just one of the many things. But one day I was walking in a park along a lake, and I was trying to get outside, find some nature, reconnect, blah, 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 that whole thing. And it was in the fall, and it was a beautiful day. And the path that I was on around this lake, it was nice and smooth. And so this was 20 years ago now. And 20 years ago, I was an avid rollerblader in California along the boardwalk, usually. But California has many places where you can rollerblade because the streets are all like perfectly paved and smooth, and the boardwalk was so smooth. But New Jersey, oh my gosh, the streets were awful. Potholes, tree roots, the sidewalks were just as bad. And so I had been kind of sad that I wasn't going to be able to rollerblade until this day that I found this park and the lake and this paved path around the lake. And so as I'm walking, I was thinking, oh, this is awesome. Yay, I can have some part of my old self here. And then I looked up and I saw a sign that said no skating. And I was like, what? Are you kidding me? It's like the perfect spot. Why in the world would there be no skating? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And I went into that Californians are, self-righteous, New Jersey, I can't believe it. And I was just, all up, whatever. But I kept walking and I kept walking, and I got to the other side of the lake. And at that point I saw another sign, but this sign had a picture on it. And the picture was of a person, a stick figure person. And they were kind of like this. And you saw that they were falling into what had been a frozen lake, but had cracked. And below it, it said, no skating. And that's when I realized, oh, no skating means no ice skating. They're not talking about rollerblading. They're talking about ice skating. It doesn't apply. But my preconceived notion had just led me to think that no skating meant no rollerblading. One of the other lessons that I learned from living in New Jersey was how to tell the change of seasons, which of course, as a Southern California, is the big joke that you don't really know how because the seasons don't change. And so I learned, the changing color of the leaves. It was beautiful. The falling of the leaves and playing with them in piles like a little kid. It was fun. The snow, that was great. And in the springtime, when the green shoots would come up from the ground. But what I also learned, it's a season that's not as widely known, but was very obvious at Princeton Seminary, was the season of the coming of the trustees for their annual trustees meeting. And you could tell this change of the season because a couple weeks before, all of a sudden, all of the flower beds, the seminary is beautiful and it has beautiful grounds and they're very well kept. But all of the flower beds would all of a sudden be completely torn out, and beautiful, perfect, like exactly the same size flowering plants would be put into those flower beds as a preparation for the coming of the trustees. Everything had to look perfect. It had to look nice. It was very beautiful, but it was very, very manicured. They tore out the old and they put in the new, and there you go until the next year when the trustees came. And it was one of these days in that season of the coming of the trustees that I was walking through the seminary, and it really was beautiful. But I continued walking, and down the street from the seminary are some woods, and they're called the Institute Woods. And it's where Einstein supposedly used to go and wander through the woods to think, to let his mind wander while he wandered. And I loved going to those woods. And this particular day, walking through the woods, I realized the difference between those woods and the trustees' flower beds. Because those woods were messy, they were not manicured. If a tree fell down, it was left to just decompose. Those woods were full of life. There were squirrels, there were birds, there were little bugs, there was decomposition happening, there was compost being made in those logs. Those woods were teeming with life. There's a term in ecology called succession, and it's what happens in an ecosystem when it's left to go nature's way. Often in the ground or an area or an ecosystem, when it has been disturbed or when something has happened to it, like a fire or a flood or a volcano, some disaster, either natural or man-made, what happens is that the first plants that grow up in that ecosystem are called pioneer plants. And those pioneer plants, they're the rugged ones. They're the ones that can't really, they call it in Spanish, sin vergüenza. You almost can't kill them. They can grow anywhere. It doesn't matter how bad the soil is. It doesn't matter how little water it gets. Those pioneer plants, their whole job is to come in there and take over an area after it's been disturbed so that they can then increase the fertility of the soil. Because what happens is as these pioneer plants come into the soil, come into the ecosystem, they make it actually more inhabitable for other plants. So they provide organic material, they provide maybe a little bit of shade. They make the ecosystem less harsh and more hospitable. And what happens is that as this happens, there's a shift. And the shift is that as the ecosystem becomes more hospitable, it invites this more diversity of plants, but the pioneers actually go away. They've created space, they've cleared space, they've created an environment to make way for that which will come, the succession in the ecosystem. And over time, that ecosystem is able to support more and more and more life. It's able to support a greater diversity of life. It's able to support a greater fertility. As I've been thinking about endings and about 2020 and about this thing we call not church, which really started as an experiment and now is an established thing, I've been thinking about this idea of ecological succession. It can be so easy to want to blot 2020 from the record books, can't it? To toss it out and be like, no give backs. But I wonder if 2020 might perhaps be a little bit like a pioneer plant. I wonder if 2020 somehow in some crazy, strange way is somehow making room for some new life that will come, for a new ecosystem that will be born. I wonder if these groanings of creation could perhaps be leading us into something new, something that we can't yet see or imagine, but that maybe we hear just the faintest little melody of. I wonder what it might be like for us to take this year and instead of ripping it out of the ground to plant fresh, pretty flowers, which is very tempting, right? Very understandable. What if we let it fall to the ground and decompose and add that organic material to the soil of our lives? I wonder if we could figure out how to compost 2020 instead of toss it out in the trash. Now, for those who have been a part of this journey from the beginning, you know that my stories often come from the garden. And they as well often come from the horses. And so I have one more short little story for you from the horse. 7 years ago, in October, I came across my horse Luna. She was in the estuary. She was tied up. She was in a place there was nothing for her to eat, and she was skin and bones. I have pictures of her, and you would not believe them. It's as rough as you can imagine. I was walking my dog Tigger, and I saw her, and I knew the horse, and so I said hello to her by name. I said, "Hi, Luna." "Oh, I'm sorry. What can I do? I can't do anything." And I kept walking. The next day, I was walking Tigger again in the estuary again, and I saw Luna again. She was tied up. She was sunken in her back. Her ribs were like almost caving in. She just looked defeated and depleted. And she raised up her head and she looked at me. And I said, "Hi, Luna." And in her look, I could feel the question, "Can you do something? Will you help? Please." I felt like she was pleading with me. And so I said to her, "Okay, I'll do what I can." That was 7 years ago. Today, not only is Luna healthy and strong and almost too much horse for me still when I take her riding out, running down the beach, but she's also the mother of two beautiful fillies, India and Chispa. Now, the conventional way to talk about that is to say that Luna is a rescue horse, that I rescued her. But anyone who has been in a situation like that knows that it's not really the case. Sure, I might have rescued her, but in the process, she has changed my life completely. I rescued her, but she has saved me. When we first started out on this journey that's now become Not Church, years before we had even given it a name, I often had church people who heard about what I was doing and what was happening in La Mission basically ask me or assume, I mean, Erin, you're the ordained minister, ordained as an evangelist, no less. So they kind of had this assumption that if I was with a group of people outside of organized religion, outside of church, outside of things as we know it, group of agnostics, a group of atheists, a group of I don't even want to define myself, the assumption was, well, I mean, you're there to save them, right? But what I said to those people then, and what I say to them to this day, is that I might be the pastor, but it's all of you who have saved me. I am so thankful for the honor of being part of this for these years, and I cannot thank you enough. So thank you.
Thank you, Erin. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That was beautiful. Now we are going to open this up. I'm going to ask you to raise your hand if you know how to do that, or we can just try. Anna, you're going to go first. Okay, unmute yourself, Anna.
I couldn't find the raise hand button. Here,
Yeah, I
we were
don't know
telling
where it
everybody
is.
we're going to do this.
I know.
And
I don't know where it is
it's
either.
or something. Anyway, I just wanted to jump in here and I wanted to add my thanks to what Erin just said. Thank everyone. There are 33 people here, actually 33 little squares, but a bunch of them have 2 in them. So there are a bunch of people here today, and over these years, there have been hundreds and hundreds of people who have participated in Not Church, and it is absolutely great. And I also want to thank Erin from the bottom of my heart, of course. When she first told us that she was having these feelings, the first feeling that I had was sadness, just like Ron. You know, I was very sad at the idea because it has been so much fun to work with Erin to put Not Church together. And my first thought was that I would miss doing that, and I will miss the constant contact. I'm sure that we will still have lots of contact with Erin. And that she'll still be guiding us. And the thought that came to me is that you've been sort of a shepherd, Erin, and we have this, I don't want to call it flock because that sounds too biblical. So we have this herd here of people, and you've opened up opportunities and possibilities for us. And so the first thought I had was sadness. The second thought I had was, oh boy, where are we going to go with this? This is going to be fun. And it already is. We already have all kinds of fun ideas, and we have more and more people participating. And I'm sure that Not Church is entering its 10th year of with enthusiasm and growth. And we appreciate what Erin has done, and we appreciate what all of you have done and what you will all continue to do. So thank you.
Does anyone else have anything they would like to say? If anyone does, please just unmute.
Hi, this is Mary. I'm the
Hi,
anonymous
Mary.
sponsor. And I just want to express, incredible gratitude for everybody here, making me feel so welcome when I first moved down here. And I really have to say, I have always appreciated diversity on the spiritual path, you know, and I've gotten a lot personally out of my participation in not church. It's, you know, been kind of minimal, but I've really enjoyed it. Appreciate the growth that it has shown me is possible, and happiness study group as well. And you know, I look forward to more interaction with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
I'll say something. I just want to, I think I've shared this story, you know, several times, but bear with me. I just want to say how thankful I am with to Not Church. And Not Church is just associated with Erin and being at the center and being the pillar that has supported this group and has been, you know, there's always that need to have someone out there, a leader, or, you know, whatever she has, the roles that she has played has been the strength of this group. And when I moved to Rosarito from San Diego, I was part of the Unity group there in San Diego for many, many years. And there was someone that's in this call also, I just can't see them, Bill and Kathy Bliss, who moved at the same time with me, and they were also part of Unity. And we were just hungry for something similar, for us to have a spiritual group where we could, you know, where we could support our spiritual path. And we just didn't see anything. You know, we were just surprised that a lot of the people that gathered here was just for happy hour, or play cards, or, you know, do a bunch of things that, you know, that was not up our alley. And, you know, once in a while it's fine, but this is not what we were looking for. So finally, somehow somebody mentioned Not Church. And what is that? Not church? You know, well, we decided to attend the gathering in La Misión. And when I got there, I said, that's it. This is what I've been looking for. And then I see this young woman step up and share her thoughts. And I go, wow, she's amazing. You know, whatever she's saying is just speaking to me. And the first thing that really surprised me was she was so young and so much wisdom. And that was something that, you know, I just didn't associate. I'm used to looking at pastors or ministers as older, wise people. And then you see this young woman, you know, sharing all these stories about horses and daily living and plants and, you know, her life here in such a natural, you know, delightful way, yet with so much wisdom. And it was just for me, and I know Kathy and Bill, I'm speaking for them. I think that we just decided that this was it. This was what we were looking for. And almost 10 years, well, I joined, maybe it was the third year or so. So I've been coming to this group for 7 years. And then Anna invited me to organize the group here, because I'm not the speaker. And Erin drove all the way from Mission and was there present, supporting the group in Norte. So I just want to thank you, Erin, for all that you've done for this group, to be such an important, critical part of this gathering, this group. And I'm wishing you the best, but I'm hoping that, you know, we don't lose you. And, you know, once in a while, show your face here and continue to support us with your love and your energy. And at the same time, it's wonderful too. It's a good opportunity for us to step up to the challenge and, as a community, share our wisdom too. I'm sure we all have wonderful, important stories in our life that have led us here to this wonderful place where we find people of like-mindedness and with that all commonalities that we feel at home. So thank you everyone for being a part of this group. The new people that are coming in, I hope you stay and decide to share with us your wisdom as well. We really need to hear you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carmen. Carol, do you want to unmute now, please?
Hi, I just want to say thank you. Thank you to Not Church and thank you to Erin. And I still remember my first time and I remember the message, which was about tomatoes. And it motivated me to start a compost pile here in northern Rosarito. So, well, actually, Tijuana. I think I'm the northernmost member of our local member of Not Church, Jim and I. So that really got me on the direction of thriving. And for me, this year of the pandemic has not been hard because I keep thinking about how do we thrive, and the idea of the compost stayed with me. Not only personally, because we have a pile, my husband's not real crazy about it, but anyway, we do have these boxes and we're making a new planter and we're going to use all of that compost for them. And I just want to thank you for all of your wisdom. And I'm very happy to hear all the stories about horses and tomatoes and all the other plants because they've been very special for me. And actually, it was the Not Church that was the impetus for us organizing our meditation group in the North. And it's a meditation and study group. And it has not missed but 2 meetings since the pandemic began. So it's been very consistent. In fact, I think since we began 3 or 4 years ago, we've only missed, I don't know, maybe 4 times. So I thank you. That was an offshoot of Not Church and of your ideas. So thank you. That's all I have is just thank you. I'm grateful.
Rose, did you have something you wanted to say?
I did. I guess the thank you is just huge. I guess I would be a newbie. This is my completion of a 2nd year with Not Church. I remember the first time Carmen and Elsa gave me a ride down to La Mission for the Christmas evening celebration where we all lit candles. And I met Anna and Doug and Carol and Jim and felt like I had come home. The welcome was overwhelming and dear. And in just 2 short years, I've grown to love Not Church and all the people in it. I have never met so many spiritually awakened, wonderful, enlightening, super people. It's just, and Erin, in 2 years, I think you saved my life. So there. And all of you have just given so much. And I don't think I ever went to a Not Church that I didn't come away feeling 10 times better. So I guess my wish is that Not Church continues with all the love and all the sharing and all the kindness and giving hearts that show up to every Not Church. So big, huge hug of gratitude and appreciation to you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose. Thank you so much. We're so glad you found us. John, did you have something you wanted to say? Your hand is raised over there.
It's Mary Beth.
Oh, hi, Mary Beth. I see it's you. Hi.
Yes, I prepared some comments as I was sitting here. And what I want to say is that Not Church has always given me a kernel of wisdom to massage. For example, if we think about the speakers today, I like thinking of the gap between ending and beginning. It corresponds with my meditation practice of looking for the gap between thoughts. And Rose talked about shifting. And we are all always shifting, and New and Not Church has enabled that shift for me and offered a steady backdrop as we move into a new space and a new clearing. I like what Tom said about the puff of energy an ending creates to start something new. I found that very inspiring. In an earlier tribute to Not Church some years ago, I said that Not Church has offered all of us a chance to sit with substance and with each other. And that continues to be the great gift of Not Church. I appreciate the reflections people share and their real depth of experience. Mainly, I appreciate the strength of conviction of the heavy hitters behind the scenes, especially Erin, Nadine, and Anna. Thank you for your conviction and your caring commitment to lead us as we wander through our figurative woods to think and reflect.
Oh, Mary Beth, so nice. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And if I can just add on, since the camera is on this little square, I feel like I'm in that Hollywood game, you know, whatever it was. I just want to say that for me, I'm so appreciative that this experience of Not Church has always been a calling to my higher self, a sense of connection to something of a community, and a place to be able to share with so many other people in a way that a cocktail party just doesn't do it, baby. It's really a chance to meet new people and hear so deeply from them what's important and what inspires them, what calls to them, what saddens them. And I guess part of what I want to say is in this ending, I just want to call forward a really strong new beginning and continuation of these opportunities for us all.
Thank you, John. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to say something? Kathy, do you want to unmute and go ahead?
I do.
Great.
I just want to thank Erin and all the rest of you for opening up something in me that I didn't recognize before. This has been a bad year for me. And I welcome a new one. And I know now's our opportunity to really try to be a little bit better. I love you all.
Thank you, honey. Thank you, thank you. And I know this has been a really hard, rough year for you with many personal tragic losses. And we are here to love you and support you in any way we can. And that is kind of the beauty of Not Church and this community as a whole. This is, if you're new to this community or whether you've been here a long time, you know that this is a very, very special place. And we are all really very fortunate to be here, to have found one another, and to continue to build the strong ties of heart. I mean, really, it's about heart. And we just keep expanding and growing it and making it better, bigger and better and including more. And yes, there are always going to be trials and tribulations, no matter who we are, no matter what. And yes, this year has slapped us all upside the head for sure. But as one of the Enneagram summits that I watched this week, which was so beautiful, was on the concept of liminality. And that's kind of where we are this moment. We're in this holding place of liminality, the space, the gap that so many of you have spoken of today, that gap between the past and the future, standing on the threshold. And I just hope we can all go forward eyes wide open for sure, looking at what, when we can, we look back at the past, examine what we need to examine, see what we need to see, and then we go forward stronger, and we always go forward stronger together. So thank you all for being here, and thank you for being part of this wonderful, beautiful, not church community. Does anyone, Anna, anything you want to say? Any message about? Okay. Okay.
I think it's been a beautiful time today, and I look forward to the next ones.
I think Sky, you want to say something there?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to say to Erin, as we finish off that, I haven't known her for very long, but I've spent a little bit of time with her, and I know some people have mentioned her incredible wisdom, but what I take from Erin is her courage, because it takes tremendous courage to say, I'm going to move on. And I know there was a lot of wrestling in her spirit with this. I know that it took her a long time to get to this place where she has had to go inside and pay attention to her intuition, pay attention to what was inside her to say, my time here is done. I need to move on. So Erin, that decision that you made has given many of us courage. Actually, you have sown courage, and it actually gave me courage. I was in a situation that could have seemed so comfortable. Many people were saying to me, you've got something amazing in this time of 2020, but I knew inside that I had to move on. It was not right for me. And your courage to do that encouraged me to move on as well. So I just want to say thank you for always paying attention to your spirit, your intuition, and particularly in this situation, it was not easy. It was extremely difficult for you to say, this is what I have to do. And I believe you will reap what you have sown in this tremendous, incredible time with this community. You will reap all of the good things that you have sown, and you have left an incredible jewel and harvest so that we can actually start to reap all that you have sown. And as many have said, I'm sure this is not goodbye. This is just a different season and a different way of being involved and interacting with you. And so thank you for your courage to create something, a different space, and not only for not church, not only for what is to come in the future, but for yourself, Erin. And we are all looking forward to the exciting things that you will do in your future, because you have been brave enough and courageous enough to say, I need to move on to something new.
Thank you, Sky. Thank you for addressing that. I think that was a little piece of this that got a little overlooked today, and I'm really glad that you brought that up, the courage to do this, to say it's time to do something different, and it's time for me to have a new beginning, which then encourages us to have a new beginning as well. So yes, endings are sad, but what we're here to do, and we acknowledge that, we acknowledge the sadness, but we also stand on that threshold and we look forward without too much clinging. We look forward. We don't want too much hope in there. We look forward. That's a very scary word to us. We don't want to do that, but we just kind of look forward gently to what may come and hope that we're all, there it is. Hope we're all stronger for having been through what we've been through as we step forward into 2021. So I wish you all very happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, New Year's, whatever else I've forgotten, all of the above. And find ways to enjoy this special season of family and warmth and love and togetherness, even though we have to be apart. We're still together in our hearts, which is what gets sent out into the universe. So send out that love. And I love you guys. Thank you.
So everybody can unmute now and say hello, goodbye.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
So goodbye for 2020, and we'll see you in January.
Love to you all.
Bye.
Love you too.
Many blessings.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Quick thank you to
Bye, Carmen.
Nana and everyone.
Bye, guys.
And
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you,
wonderful.
Jim.
You've been a peripheral part of this group. Thank you.
Thanks, Rose and Tom.
Thank you.
Oh, Rose, thank you.
Bye.
She just glows, doesn't she?
Yeah.
She just glows.
Lovely. Bye, Deborah. Nice to see you. Bye, Tina.
That's tough.
Talk soon.
Yes,
Arthur, you're scaring me.
Yeah.
You know, Erin began her ordination in the airport, and it's water that brought us all to Baja, and it's water that runs through all the plants, and it's water that runs through our lifeblood, the lifeblood of the planet. So I'm taking advantage of the freedom of Zoom to enjoy communication with all of you. So thank you.
Great.
I love you all. Love you. Erin. Thank you for all you've done.
Thank you, Arthur.
Love you,
Bye.
Arthur.
Bye-bye, Anna.
Bye, Tina. Talk
Bye.
soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Well, folks, I think that's it.
Yeah.
I'm going to close this out and say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Arturo. Hope to
Take
see
care.
you one of these days.
Yes. We'll cross
Be
paths.
well.
All right,
Take
bye.
care. Bye.